Hello, everyone, and welcome to this special holiday edition episode of the Insurance Insights podcast by Policybazaar. We are officially nearing the Christmas and holiday season, and I know a lot of you might be planning to travel to celebrate. I know I am. So, we thought it would be nice to do an episode around the latest travel trends to help you guys plan your trip better. Now we have two very special guests with us today. We have Simrran Gill, who's the features editor at Travel+Leisure magazine, which is my personal favorite. And we have Amit Chhabra, who's the chief business officer of health, travel and two-wheeler insurance at Policybazaar. Welcome to Policybazaar's Insurance Insights podcast, Amit and Simrran. It's a pleasure to have you both with us today.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Simran. It's confusing for me because you have two Simrans, but...
We have a lot of interesting questions for you both today, and let's just get started. So I would like to know from both of you the top 3 travel trends on your radar. Simran, you can help us with, a journalist's point of view, and Amit, a lot of people come to our platform to buy travel insurance, and you have, access to those insights कि लोग कहाँ travel कर रहे हैं, किन countries में जा रहे हैं, कितना coverage ले रहे हैं, so you can maybe help with those insights. Simran, we can go with you first.
The top 3 travel trends which are on my radar, I think slow travel is really picking up. The fact that people are not rushing through destinations and not just making a checklist and taking things off, and actually taking the time to be at a particular place, enjoy what they are looking at and kind of absorbing what's happening around them. So I think slow travel is one of the things which definitely has grown in the last couple of years, especially post-COVID. After that, I feel a lot of people are also now ditching Europe for Asian countries. Another thing which I feel another travel trend per se, I don't know if it's a travel trend or it's a work trend. I think people have ditched their conventional jobs and they have just moved to different countries to do various other things wherein they are pairing their work and travel together.
The other thing that's also happened is international travel has become very expensive. Yes. So flight tickets, hotels, they've become significantly expensive than what they used to be earlier. So again, even from that sense, Asia, ends up being a comparatively cheaper choice, so to say, affordable choice, so to say. The other interesting trend is within Asia also. So largely what we used to see earlier was Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia. These were the larger travel destinations. What we've started to see is that over the last 1 year or so, Vietnam has become one of the favorites, with one of the favorite destinations with a lot of people. Even something like Baku or Azerbaijan has also become very, very popular. There are now, you won't believe, there are no direct flights. There are 2 direct flights a day to to a destination like Baku or Vietnam. So we are now seeing these becoming a lot more affordable and easy to travel, because now there are direct flights. They are quite cheap as well, and they're actually nice destinations also. So I think that is another thing that we are seeing as a trend. Almost corresponding to that, what we've seen is that the travel duration has come down, because if somebody goes to Europe, it's typically a 7 to 10 days or longer trip. Asia destinations typically are 4 to 5 days or 4 to 6 days kind of trip. So we're seeing that number also coming down. But correspondingly, what we've also seen, and it's sort of correlated, we're seeing a surge in the repeat consumer buying from us, which technically what it means is I think more and more people are traveling abroad, more frequently than what they used to do. So and I can, as a consumer, I can understand, if I have to go to Europe, I'll go probably once a year. But if I'm traveling to, these Asia destinations, it's probably easier for me to plan one in summers and one, let's say, in the winter vacations or so. So we're seeing that in our insurance buying, buying behavior also. So we're seeing more and more repeat users coming in. Lastly, I think a trend specific to insurance is, the penetration of travel insurance continues to increase. More and more people do buy. So there was a time when a lot of countries had made travel insurance mandatory. For example, Thailand had made travel insurance mandatory. That thing is gone now, but largely we see that people are going to Thailand, they're buying insurance now. So I think that habit has now come in to a certain extent, because it was made mandatory for some time. So now people by default do buy travel insurance when they're going abroad.
And Amit, while traveling to these Asian countries, are there any specific things one should keep in mind?
Okay. So see, the requirement of travel insurance and what kind of travel insurance should a consumer buy won't really, change much by if one is going to Asia or Europe or the US. I think what it really varies by is who is going and what are the exact requirements. Like I'll explain through an example. So let's say if I stay in Singapore and my parents are coming to live with me for the next 6 months, and at that age, I would want that they get covered for any pre-existing ailments also. Like for example, if my parents have diabetes or hypertension or a heart problem, I would want if something unforeseen happens to their health, while they are with me outside the country, their health is covered. So that becomes an important part. Whereas, if I am a group of boys who are going to, Dubai for 4 days, honestly, I'll be less worried. So it's about the requirement set of the consumer who's going rather than, I would say, the geography per se. But that said, I think there are a few things which one must definitely look at when they are buying a travel insurance policy. So one is medical coverage. Medical coverage could be any emergency hospitalization. It could be something related to your any pre-existing ailment. You must have that coverage. I think that is extremely important because at the end of the day, medical facilities outside the country are very, very expensive. The bill racks up into tens of lakhs very, very fast. So making sure that you have the right medical coverage is very important. That's one. Secondly, I think trip cancellation is also an important factor. If something goes wrong in the country while you are preparing for your travel, somebody falls ill, your flight gets cancelled, there is a war-like situation right now in certain countries. So a lot of stuff can happen, right? So making sure that you have trip cancellation benefit in your travel insurance policy is also important because a lot of times flights are not refundable, hotel bookings are not refundable, you end up losing lakhs of rupees, So you may have booked some activities like a skydive or something, which again is not refundable. So making sure that you have trip cancellation benefits again becomes very important. Thirdly, again, see, unfortunate things can happen. You may have a theft kind of a situation while you're traveling abroad. You might have lost a passport, etc., etc. So these things also do happen, at times, and that is what travel insurance is for. And the interesting thing is, see, the additional cost or the cost of travel insurance is actually very, very minuscule. Compared to, so again, I'll take an example. If let's say I'm a one adult who's going to, let's say, Dubai for 1 week, the cost of travel insurance will not even be $1,000. So it is very, very small, but the kind of coverage and peace of mind it gives you is immense. So I think having adequate coverage of travel insurance is something that one cannot emphasize enough on. And that's what one should do irrespective of whichever country you're traveling to.
So Simrran, when you're planning a new edition of Travel and Leisure magazine or you're planning a new feature, is there a specific checklist that you guys follow to make your content, as comprehensive as possible for all the travelers or your readers?
Well, there is no comprehensive checklist as such. I mean, the process of producing a travel magazine is essentially we decide the themes for each month in the previous calendar year. Like, let's say we're sitting towards the end of 23 right now and we're going to go to 24. So we have already decided the theme for all the months for 2024, and we obviously have certain set themes. The couple of things we do try to keep in mind is, for instance, we know that when summers are around, so then one issue has to be a summer travel issue, or when we know that it's festive season, then it has to be like a festive issue. Then when we're moving towards the end of the year, there has to be an year-ender type situation. And then when we're talking about an issue in January, it is something about new beginnings, new destinations, a lot of newness basically. So there's no checklist for each month. It is always a conscious and a very engaging thought process that is there behind all the themes. And it's not just one person, it is a lot of people who sit together and come up with the themes, and who also obviously brainstorm ideas in terms of what's happening in the world, what's going on, where are we headed, and obviously looking at a couple of travel trends as well. So these are a couple of things that we do keep in mind.
Now, Amit, my next question is for you. Now, coronavirus has changed the way we live, the way we travel. What do you think the industry may look like in the future, given the after effects of COVID?
See, I think COVID for the insurance industry at large and travel insurance specifically, it's actually, to be very honest, while the last 2 years were painful because nobody was traveling, it's actually significantly helped the industry because one, somewhere it woke up everybody, and a lot of countries made travel insurance mandatory to start with. Travel insurance was always an optional product, historically, but a lot of countries basically then started to say that if you want a visa or you want to enter the country, you need to have travel insurance because there is always a potential risk that one might contract COVID. And if you have to get hospitalized, you don't have money, it leads to the country has to practically pay for your bill. So there, I think that's why a lot of countries started, like the largest we heard was Thailand, which never had any travel insurance mandate, but they made it mandatory for anybody to enter the country. So that, I think, has put people in some sort of a habit. That's one. Second, what has happened is, and then force always helps. Like, for example, you get car insurance or bike insurance today because if you don't have it, then you can get a ticket potentially. So one is that mandate has helped. Secondly, I think through COVID, over the years, people have now realized that, and this is specific to the younger customer base, that hospitalization is a reality. It can happen to anybody at any point of time, So earlier, a lot of people, used to feel that we are invincible. I'm fine, I'm healthy, nothing's going to happen to me. But actually, that's not the case. People can get hospitalized for actually, for contracting a viral fever. And specifically when you're traveling outside the country, that can, put you in fairly uncomfortable scenarios financially. So in that sense, the awareness has now significantly gone up. The other thing that's happened, and again, we are seeing it across health insurance lines, which is health and travel insurance, that people have now become more aware about what kind of insurance that they want to buy, like what kind of coverages that they want to buy. So for example, in travel insurance, we see now people specifically asking, if I get COVID, will my hospitalization be covered or not? If let's say I am not allowed to travel and I am put in a containment zone because I got COVID, will the costs of that be covered by my travel insurance policy or not? So in that sense, I think there is more awareness. People think it's more real also, it can actually happen. So they also ask these questions and they accordingly buy the travel insurance policies. So that awareness has definitely gone up.
And Simran, you can, maybe add your thoughts as well to that.
I think one thing that we've seen, as you said rightly, Amit, is that people have become more aware of the kind of travel insurance they want. Because I remember when we first started traveling, immediately post-COVID, there was a requirement by all foreign governments that you need to have a COVID coverage in your insurance policy. Like it's a mandate that your COVID, in case you contract the virus and your hospitalization, like that clause was supposed to be a part of all your travel insurance policies. I think that's one thing. The other thing is that there was a concept of revenge travel, that people did not travel for 2 years, so then they ended up traveling so much more in the next couple of years. So that, I think, definitely is one of the after effects of COVID. And another thing is that in foreign countries, you do not get over-the-counter medicines like here in India. Like let's say you've gotten a fever, you cannot go there and ask for like one tablet, a PCM tablet, which will help you bring down the fever. Over there, you have to follow the entire process of going through the right channels, and there are no over-the-table medications that you can get. So that kind of makes it very important for you to choose the right insurance.
Now, Amit, in the travel insurance industry, have there been any recent innovations that you can highlight for us?
Sure. So I think what has happened with COVID is, we're talking about the after effects of COVID on consumers. There's actually been a lot of after effects of COVID, positive after effects on the insurance industry as well. So one is, I think I would say the largest innovation is in terms of the buying process. So the buying processes have become a lot more simpler, compared to what it used to be. The process in terms of, choosing what coverages you want, what kind of benefits you want in your travel insurance policy, that's gone up significantly. So one is in terms of, the quantum of coverage. So for example, earlier you would typically buy coverages of $50,000 or $1 lakh. Now people go all the way up to, $5 lakh or even above. So the coverage amounts have gone up, and correspondingly the health insurance products have also evolved, and they're now offering coverages which are, of much higher quantum. That's part one. The other thing that has happened is travel insurance products have become very modular in nature. So I'll explain what that means. So let's say if I'm traveling with my family, so it's me, my wife, my daughter, and my parents. Now what I would ideally want is, for me, my wife, I would want a plain vanilla coverage because I have that confidence that, and that's false confidence, but I have that confidence that I'm young, healthy, nothing's going to happen to me. For my daughter, I will be a bit worried because she's a young child, so I would want, that if something goes wrong, we can go to a pediatrician anywhere in the world and, help her, get a treatment or an injection or whatever's needed. For my parents, I will be even more worried. For them, I would want that, so my mom is hypertensive, my dad has some thyroid issues. So I would want that if something goes wrong, and they need to be hospitalized, that hospitalization gets covered even though it is a pre-existing disease. So my requirements will be very different for my entire family. And earlier what used to happen was the coverages were plain vanilla, but now I can actually choose separate products based on what exactly I want, and I can customize.
Now, Simran, sustainable travel is a hot topic of discussion right now in the industry. How can travelers make more conscious choices while traveling? How can they be more eco-friendly? Can you recommend some tips?
Actually, yes, sustainable travel is a very hot topic now, thanks to the kind of awareness that we have, thanks to the stakeholders who are there in the industry and promoting the right kind of travel. A couple of conscious choices. I think one of the first and foremost is carry your own water bottles. Don't buy plastic bottles wherever you go. It's a very small step, but it is a very significant step, because anywhere that you end up traveling, obviously you will have a glass of water or a bottle of water, and we're going on the street, you will not look for the nearest tap if you're somewhere where you can have tap water. Especially when you're traveling domestically in India, for us, we will always go to the nearest shop, grab a bottle of plastic bottle of water and consume water out of it. So it is something which is very, very basic. I feel taking your own bottle of water wherever you go, or also choose places which are plastic free. There are so many properties in India right now who are hell bent on making their outpost a sustainable one, or at least a more greener and a more organized outpost in terms of their waste generation, in terms of their water system management, in terms of their recycling, in terms of rainwater harvesting. So whenever, if you are a conscious traveler like that, you should make sure that you are picking hotels who are not just in the business for minting money, but also for taking care of the environment, and feel equally responsible to kind of make sure that there is not much waste generation, or even if there is, they are making sure that they are taking care of it.
Now, Amit, in your experience, what are some of the most common reasons people raise a claim for their travel insurance?
Sure. So actually the largest, and it's sort of expected, but the largest reason of claims is medical. If you actually further look into it, so roughly half of the claims are by the way medical claims. But within that, there will be typically 2-3 kinds of scenarios. The largest scenario is like an accident or an emergency hospitalization. Somebody fell ill or had an accident, so they had to be treated. A lot of these are OPD kind of treatments, but obviously these are claims, and OPD is also fairly expensive. So you would go get a stitch or something, or get bandaged, etc. That's typically the most common claim that's seen in travel insurance. Within hospitalization or healthcare, the other claim is related to pre-existing diseases, which is a very large ticket claim typically. So what we see is that the value of the claim is the highest. Frequency will be lower because again the chances of somebody getting hospitalized because of a heart problem, etc., the chances will be lesser. But the severity or the average claim size is significantly high. Like just yesterday, we got a claim from one of our customers. The claim was for $200,000. So fairly large claims, they do come, and it's honestly it's a very large amount for a consumer to shell out from their own pocket. So what we typically do is, from a claims assistance perspective, we try to keep these claims cashless as much as possible, which means the customer does not have to pay from their own pocket. Because imagine suddenly shelling out $200,000, that's a lot of money. Right, so we try to keep these cashless so that they can immediately be paid out, and the consumer does not have to pay from their own pocket and then apply for a reimbursement claim. So that's first. The other one is trip cancellation. That's the second largest category of claims that we see. Now, trip cancellations typically happens because of 2 reasons. One is something happened with the consumer, like something happened in the family, somebody fell ill, got COVID. In the past, all of this was happening. So that's typically a large reason. Second could be something related to flights. If let's say my flight got cancelled and eventually because of that I could not go, or I missed a connection, so on and so forth. So this is the second biggest reason. The third biggest reason is baggage loss or baggage delay. These are typically very small ticket claims, because in your travel insurance policy typically you would have a sublimit which says that you would, let's say, get $500 per day or $100 per day wherever you lose or your baggage is delayed, so that you can go and buy some emergency clothes. So these are the three largest categories of why people raise a claim.
So Amit and Simran, my next question is for the both of you. Which destination are you guys traveling to next? What's on your bucket list? And do you have any recommendations for people traveling around Christmas or New Year?
So Iceland has been on my bucket list for some time now. I've been actually, there's a story behind it, and I'll take a minute to tell that. Me and my wife had almost booked Iceland tickets in 2019 December. This was just before COVID. We had almost booked tickets, but then we thought that the price difference is very less. Let's book closer to the travel date. So we were planning to travel in April. That's when our anniversary, etc. is. So we were to book it in March, and then unfortunately COVID happened, and the rest is history. Things have now stabilized. My daughter is also much older, so we do plan to travel to Iceland. Sometime this, sometime I think towards the later part of the year. That's when that whole lights thing, Northern Lights happens in Iceland. So that's what I'm targeting right now.
But if you want to see Northern Lights, you must go to Finland. I have to tell you.
What is it?
Yes, I went last year and they were beautiful. And 2024-25 is actually the time when they are going to be at their brightest. So you are literally just standing at the edge. You must go and check them out in Finland, I think.
That helps. Yeah. We'll talk more offline on that.
Absolutely. What's on my bucket list? I don't make bucket lists. Yeah, I will embrace whatever's coming my way because that's how it's always been, and I've been grateful and fortunate enough to travel to destinations that were never on my mind. Also, for Finland, for instance. So I don't make bucket lists. And as to where I'm traveling next, there's a couple of domestic things lined up. There's something which is in Jaipur. There's something which is in Pune. So all of those things are happening.
Largely, the people who have already completed their bucket lists are the people who don't make their bucket list.
But even before that, I didn't make a bucket list. I'm being honest.
Thank you, Amit and Simran. It's been a fantastic discussion with you both. Thank you for coming on our show, and I'm sure the people watching or listening to the podcast will absolutely love it.
Thank you so much for having us. I think it was quite insightful. I learned a lot about travel insurance, its importance, the latest trends that are happening. I will definitely keep an eye out for all these pointers the next time I buy one.
Done, definitely. Thank you, Simran, for this great conversation. Thank you.